When I saw Mount St. Helens erupt and it collapse, I'm not gonna lie, I was hella scared. I felt the ground shaking under me. Although we were miles away from the mountain, I saw the shockwave come right at me and heard the windows of my car shatter. When I woke up, I was in the hospital, and I had the back of my head stitched up, and they put a bandage on it. The doctor told me that the shockwave had pushed me to the ground, hitting the back of my head on the curb and cracking it open. I thanked the doc for patching me up, got ready to leave the hospital. My girlfriend picked me up from the hospital and took me home. By the time we left, it was night. The sky was red from all the fire, and it was raining ash all around us. My girlfriend was worried that the ash would damage the engine of her car, so she asked me if she could stay at my house for the night, because I had a garage. Of course, she thanked me. And by the time we got home, my mom and dad were worried about how late I was. So I explained to them what happened, and they asked me if I was okay, and I told them of course I'm okay. And Dad cooked dinner, and me and Mom and Sophia sat on the couch in the living room watching TV. We watched the news, and we were all offended that the media had no coverage about the eruption at all. Instead, they just showed California Governor Reagan ranting some random crap about communism. Look, I hate the filthy commies as much as the next guy, but dude, shut up for 5 minutes. Look, Carter's a disaster, but do you really want some crappy actor being president of the United States? What's next? Some professional businessman for president? I'm still hopeful that Ted Kennedy wins. The next few days were pretty uneventful. We were assigned to search for bodies on Mount St. Helens. You see, I worked search and rescue. They made me take a few days off because of my injury, even though it wasn't really that bad. When I finally got the call, they wanted me at the mountain at 6 a.m., and they gave us these special heat suits that can withstand over 2,000 degrees. God knows what we'd be using those for. There was so much ash around everywhere. It was amazing. Trucks, buses were covered, even some trees and houses. Around 12:45, we found our first body. A woman, perhaps in her mid to late 30s. To be honest, it was lucky we found her at all. We just saw the car, and then we kept digging. And around the edge of the car, we found her a few feet away. I think she was trying to crawl out of the ash to escape, but she choked and eventually she died. She was the only body we found that day. A short time later, we had our lunch break. All we did was fool around like the idiots we are, having fun with our heat suits, setting each other on fire. Yeah, I know, super stupid. After the break, we were sent near the mountain's vent. Don't ask me why we were assigned to go there, because I don't know either. It was quite a hike to get there, but we managed it. And when we arrived, I thought I heard a screaming sound. I asked the rest of the crew if they heard it too. They did, but it just turned out to be steam escaping from a small crack in the side of the mountain. It made a really spooky sound, though. It set me on ease. We found a cave super close to the vent of the volcano. Believe me, we're search and rescue team in the world. Hell if I know why we still have a job. Just inside the cave, the temperature soared above 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Walking deeper down into the cave, all of us were making echoes just for the hell of it. I looked at my thermometer. It was 200 degrees and rising. We put on our heat suits and drank water because we were all super thirsty. We moved deeper in. I noticed the cave shaft had been straight so far. I didn't see any forks or turns in our path, so we'll most likely be able to get out again. But it was nothing like a normal cave, but shaped more like a mine shaft. We all just kept walking deeper and deeper in, like it was calling us to come. I know that sounds cheesy as hell, but as we ascended deeper and deeper, it got hotter and hotter. I looked at the thermometer on the zipper pull of my jacket, and the temperature was 660 degrees Fahrenheit. I cracked a joke about the temperature being 666. Everyone snickered behind their face shields. Just ahead, the temperature was 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It was so hot that the floor of the cave was glowing red. There the cave ended at a fork, and in front of us was an opening 10 feet tall and 10 feet wide. We looked at each other and then went inside, and then we regretted what we saw. It will scare us for the rest of our lives. We heard screaming that was so loud that it shook the ground. We saw faces screaming and sobbing on the walls. We saw super ugly and disgusting looking animals that turned out to be demons. We saw a woman being ripped to shreds by wolves. We saw that woman being attacked by dogs. She was screaming and begging for them to stop. They ripped open her stomach, ripping off her skin like wrapping paper, exposing her stomach, intestines, liver, lungs, and heart. Her heart was not even beating, but she was still conscious. It was so hot that her blood turned immediately to steam, and her insides were cooked, like food in the oven. We saw men violently abused by demons. The men were begging them to stop, but the demons just mocked them. We also saw an endless line of people enslaved. They were all in chains, and demons lashed them with white-hot chains as if they got out of line. One woman was lashed so badly her spine was exposed from the white-hot whip marks. We saw people walking backwards with their heads tilted back, and when we saw us, they glared at us, and some of them gave us the finger. We also saw some people being forced to reenact their deaths. I saw a young man being shot by a robber, and it looped over and over forever and ever. We also saw a woman being forced through an eternally looping car crash. We saw tombs on fire releasing steam, and heard the people within them screaming and shouting to be let out. The extreme heat cooked the people, making them look like they're on fire without actually burning. Their black, crispy skin falling off, their blood turned to thick steam, their muscles getting cooked, hair singed and falling off, but the worst was the sound of their eyes sizzling. We even saw people cannibalize each other. Some people were even eating themselves. We saw people being shot and lynched. I saw a woman who looked familiar, and realized she was the same dead woman we found earlier that day. She began to cook and sizzle, and she, burnt to a crisp. We saw people trying to repent, grown numb to all the punishments they allowed themselves, to be torn up, abused, shot, enslaved, and succumb to even more terrible tortures. And there was something else. A demon that walked up to us, and it said, "What are you doing? Get your lazy asses over here and torture some of these poor bastards." My fear changed to rage. This demon, these things thought we were them. I'm glad that the rest of the boys restrained me from attacking this demon, because I know I would have regretted it later. We decided we had seen enough. And before you ask, no, I did not see Hitler there, although I bet he's down there. The most famous person we saw was Richard Russell Jr., who died 9 years before. He was being violently abused by a demon while ranting about segregation. It took us an hour to get out of there. Happy to be free of the cave, the night sky still radiated that hellish and disgusting red color. We took off our heat suits, now black from the raging inferno, and walked silently back to our truck. We did not say a word to each other for the rest of the night. When Sophia picked me up, she asked me how my day was. But she could tell just looking at me how I was traumatized, so she didn't push the question. The remainder of the drive home was silent, except for the sound of tires on wet pavement. The next few days I was feeling better and a little more myself again. Our search crew was meant to meet President Carter while he was out there to inspect the mountain. Unlike Reagan, Carter cares about people. We shook hands. Carter told us, "Good job, boys. You walked to hell and back." President Carter has no idea how right he was.